Thank you very much to all the speakers of the second half of our Capital Markets Day. We are now starting the final Q&A session. Thanks for everyone who typed the questions already. You can type it in the Q&A section of this Zoom webinar, or you could just raise your hand and then we can open up your microphone to ask questions live. As promised, we had one question from the morning session, and I'm going to start and kick off with this one. Post the deconsolidation of Indosat and the sale of Myanmar assets, dropping capital spending, there's significant increase in cash flows available to distribute to equity holders. Any plans to come up with a multi-year dividend policy similar to few regional peers? Aziz, question for you.
I appreciate all the questions on the dividends. Once again, I'm sorry, it will still be the answer. Our current stated policy is a payout ratio between 40 to 60%. Of net profit. Any change to a dividend policy needs to go through a ratification of the board and then public disclosure. So the moment we would change our dividend policy, it will be publicly disclosed. As of today, there's no change in stance. But of course, as the profile of the company evolves, at least the management will recommend an evolution of the dividend policy.
Very clear, and it's also worth reminding our investors that we have a sustainable and progressive dividend policy in place. The next question is on the Qatari market. Mehdi Singh would like to know what's our market share in enterprise in Qatar, and how is that developing outside of Qatar? What are your market shares there? So on a group level, B2B is around 16% of our revenue, but we can provide some more details on the Qatari market.
From a Qatari market, it's quite higher than the group level. And we're talking about there is a growth of all a market share of 75% of the total market.
Excellent. And there's another question on Qatar in terms of roaming agreements. Can you talk about your partnerships? Can you quantify how many global players are the preferred roaming partner in Qatar?
We have a quite big number of partnerships across the globe, and we have been also quite active, with the preferred, let's say, partner across or internationally. And specifically, recently, we have signed a lot of, partnership with these operators when it's come to the roaming for the 5G technology.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Question from Ziad Itani from Arkham. What is the breakdown by country, in brackets Tunisia, Algeria, of the 6.6 billion Qatari riyal in accumulated FX translation reserve losses on the balance sheet? Is there anything left related to Myanmar post the full impairment last year? If so, will these filter through from the OCI to equity via profit and loss as per IFRS? The OpCo is sold.
I will take the second part of the question by saying there is no material impact on the Myanmar, but in terms of Algeria and Tunisia, it represents the acquisition rate versus today rate on the FX.
Thank you very much. Would you consider investing in gaming platforms, given its importance and growth that you've talked about? Aziz, you have a background in the gaming industry as well.
So, as you heard from Sheikh Mohammed, Ooredoo Qatar, Ooredoo Nation is a big initiative we have in terms of gaming. We put this in line with also the presentation you heard earlier on of our core strategy. These are areas of adjacency which are valuable to us, but we will not put capital at risk. So these are based mostly on partnership model where we want to drive new revenue stream from VAS services, as well as using it to push new products. A typical type of product is a low latency bundle for gamers, but it is not a space where we want to invest in terms of production or content creation for gaming. We don't think as a telecom operator we're the best suited to do that.
Thank you very much. Let's try to take one of the questions for Indonesia. There's a question from Nico Magaronis. Question for Vikram, CEO of IOH. How have you managed to do better than expectations, despite the challenge of such a big merger in a country between two very large companies. And I'm opening up the screen now for Vikram, who is joining us from Jakarta.
No, so thanks for this question. This has been, after our Q2 result, it has been asked few times. I think we have been very blessed with our shareholders supporting us on our guiding principle. Three things which, as a management team, we reached out to our shareholder. Number one, before start of this whole journey, we said that we want to work with maximize growth mindset, how we can make 1 + 1 = 10. Second, we requested our shareholder to support us on putting priority to customer experience over cost. Number three, putting disproportionate focus on employee experience, especially during merging two different culture, two different way of working. So why I say so support from shareholder, because these are very important guiding principle. It has financial implication. And when as a team, we worked on these guiding principle, what we have seen that we are investing for growth. And the good thing is in this whole process, we have seen our strategic partners joining us, and they are also very keen to invest on growth. So that is why you see integration happening ahead of time. That is why you see customer base growing. That is why you see the customer satisfaction, NPS. And at the same time, the employees are very engaged. We are all here keeping our head down. Still, we have a long way to go, but it has been a good start for us.
Excellent. Congratulations on the very strong performance there. And we have another question for Indosat. You just launched a fixed broadband service. What kind of value added can that fixed broadband business bring to IOH? And do you have any subscriber targets for fixed broadband business for the next 2 to 3 years?
I think the important point to note here is that, today, we spoke about close to 100 million customers, which Indosat has. But, there are 70 million houses in Indonesia. And we all know the importance of, good connectivity at home. So we have started our own brand under IOH, which is Hi-Fi. Our first approach is to leverage on our existing fiber network. We have close to 50,000 kilometers of fiber, which is connecting our sites and which is connecting our backhaul. We want to leverage on that, and we want to create home passes on that. Second, we are looking at partners. We see a lot of interest. While we have a strong shareholder who are ready to support on what is needed, but we also equally see private equity guys, they are very keen to partner with us on creating digital infrastructure on fiber. So with all these background, we are looking at 10% market share in 3 to 5 years. And what is important is we want to bring real value to our customers in this journey.
Excellent. Let's switch over and take one of the Iraqi questions. So I'm just going to open up the line for Amr. Yeah. And he has received a question on the competition in the 4G space. What was that like?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I mean, the 4G market, and we're talking about data market and competition, it's fierce in Iraq, and we're used to that. I mean, we're always geared for fierce competition, and this is the beauty of it. As I said previously, we control 50% of the 4G market. The issue is that sometimes the prices are controlled by the IP that we buy. In Iraq, our IP is owned by the government. So whatever IP we're buying in the market, it's basically going through ITPC, which is the government arm in Iraq. But competition is really fierce in Iraq when it comes to data.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And let's stay in Iraq. Ziad Itani would like to know what's Asiacell's dividend policy? And a follow-up question then, how much time typically does it take for the dividends to repatriate? Any special approvals required?
Yeah, basically on the policy, the policy of the dividend is basically flexible for us. It depends on the profitability, but in general, we follow Ooredoo Group dividend policy. When it comes to the announcement and approvals, we are, as HSL, we're a listed company. We are listed in the stock market of Iraq, and any dividend approval needs to go through the AGM approvals. So we have our General Assembly meeting. Normally it's May, June time. And after that, it requires a clearance on the minutes of meeting by the company registrar. So there is no request for any approval from central bank on that one, definitely. So it's an AGM approval followed by minutes of meeting approval from the company registrar. And after that, we're allowed to distribute the dividend.
Also on the repatriation of dividends, in the recent year, we haven't faced any issue, and we're able actually to repatriate even the backlogs of dividends of years where it was more difficult. And in the current environment, we see no bottlenecks at that point.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take one of the questions for the Qatari market. Nishit would like to know, what is the marketing spend for the FIFA event for Ooredoo Qatar?
We have been quite excited about the World Cup and FIFA, and we have been quite proud being a partner with the FIFA. And today, I can assure you that part of the strategy or guidance we are having for this partnership, we're still with that guidance of the spend, and it's also beyond the marketing, and we're still on the phase of that spend, which is difficult to quantify because it's still the journey not being finished.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. There's another question with regards to the FX situation in Iraq. Any issues accessing US dollars?
No, we do not have any issue on that. The exchange rate is set by the central bank. It's at 1,470, and we have access to dollar from banks, and we do not have an issue on that one.
Excellent. Feel free to type any more questions there. And I also see we've got a few live questions here. So I'm going to open the lineup for Summer. Summer, the floor is yours.
Yeah, sorry for
We can
that.
hear you now.
Yeah, so I just had a question regarding the end of year guidance you mentioned. Is the guidance inclusive of Myanmar or exclusive?
Yeah, Abdullah, if you could clarify that.
Yeah, it is inclusive of all our operations across the footprint of Ooredoo.
The transaction in Myanmar is still subject to the regulatory approvals. Mm-hmm. Okay, then I open the line. Thank you. I open the line for Omar. Omar, your question, please. Omar Maha.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. I have two questions, actually. One is regarding the e-gaming platform in Qatar. I guess it could apply to other markets as well, where you have the gaming platform. But I would, and excuse my ignorance if that was mentioned in the presentation already. I just wanted to get a better sense of how you source revenue for that platform. Is it only the connectivity part of the equation, or is there more in terms of like revenue generation? And if it's only the connectivity part, then how can you move up the value chain by getting more from this potential? I understand it's a big market, but if it's only about the connectivity part, then surely there must be something else that you can do to sort of like evolve, as you mentioned in the earlier parts of the presentation, to evolve from just being a traditional telco. So that's one. And then my second question is actually on perhaps on you know a little bit more on deleveraging, since you did very well. And as you mentioned as well earlier, the current level in terms of leverage is a bit on the lower side. You have lots of cash coming from portfolio rationalization efforts. So would you look potentially at the consolidation of minority stakes in existing companies or subsidiaries? Particularly, I want to mention Ooredoo Kuwait. I think you have about 8% float left there, which isn't really meaningful from a trading perspective for investors. So, and you have done some minority consolidation in the past significantly. So, if you have excess cash left now, would you be able to do it? And do you have the ability to do it from a regulatory perspective as well? i.e., do your license terms in Kuwait oblige you to remain listed, or can you take it private? Thank you.
Okay, so Aziz, you want to take the first question, and then we have the second question on Kuwait.
I'll try and take both. Maybe Shah Mohammed can provide a bit more color on gaming. Look, on gaming, there's multiple revenue streams. The most basic, as you mentioned, is through upsales in our connectivity packages, but there's other revenue streams. One, you have to appreciate whether Qatar, and we're deploying our gaming platform in other markets. We operate in quite a few markets which are usually cash-based markets, and this is where we become a customer aggregator for vast services, providing different services to the content providers, such as direct carrier billing. We also provide a distribution channel. We can monetize that, sponsorship venues, which we monetize, and as well all the way to some ancillary sales of equipment and devices adjacent to gaming. So we do believe it's a viable business option, but it's also a way to capture and cement and consolidate the youth segment in our markets, which is, if you look at the demographics of most of our markets, is the fastest growing demographic as of today. When it comes to Kuwait and the minority stub, if you recall in the past, there was an effort from Ooredoo to actually do a tender for the total amount of all outstanding shares. The 8% which are remaining are shareholders which didn't want to tender at the time. As of today, they're happy to be in our shareholder base. We have cash, and we look at any portfolio optimization. As of today, we don't see the value leakage to these shareholders as a significant hurdle to our portfolio rationalization. So as of today, we have no intent in taking that stub out.
Great, thank you very much. Omar, I trust that answers your questions. And now I'm going to open up the line for Mehdi Singh from HSBC. Mehdi, your question, please.
Yes, hi. Thanks for taking my questions again. Few questions on Indonesian market. Firstly, I noticed that depreciation rate has actually gone down in Indonesia post-merger. So just want to know if there has been any significant write-offs pre or post-merger in any of the entities involved there, which has led to the lower D&A run rate. Then on the network coverage, just want to understand post-merger, how is your 4G population coverage now versus the pre-merger coverage of Indosat, and compared to the market leader Telkomsel? So that's the second question, and I'll ask the third one after done with these two.
No, thanks for these two good questions. I think depreciation, is more a function of how we have been investing our capex. You must have seen our capex to revenue ratio in 2000, early 19. It used to be 37-38%. It has come down to 20-22%. While Indonesia, because of geographical challenge, continues to be higher than the global benchmark. But it is more a function of how smartly we have been deploying our capex. Q3, we will do our whatever in terms of merger impact we need to report, that will be in Q3. But whatever you see now is more of BAU, and there's a little bit better D&A, which you see. It is more from a cap, how we are monetizing our asset and how we are investing. So this is one. Second, we spoke about these two networks are complementary. So while it is good to look at how much incremental coverage we are getting at 4G overall level, that is not big. It is only 2-3%. But the real impact is on indoor coverage experience. So I'll give you one data point which I spoke about in my Q2 analyst call. When you look at Indonesia, Java and ex-Java, Java contributes to 55% of the industry revenue. In Java, after eliminating duplicate sites, we will be equal or little more than the leader here. This is what the merger brings. If you have money also, if you want to roll out so many number of sites and all, it is very, very difficult in Java. So this is the impact of merger. And by early next year, we'll be able to make sure all the sites which we have in Java and outside Java will be fully integrated. So there'll be a good jump on indoor experience. And for 3 brand specifically, which didn't have the positive impact of 9 megahertz spectrum, they will see a quantum jump on indoor coverage experience. And that is what will bring a lot of value add to our 3 customer also. So we are seeing some good trend, and that is how our NPS and CSAT is looking up. So early days, but again, these are all moving in the right direction.
Thanks a lot, Vikram. I think what you have achieved in Indonesia is quite unbelievable to us, honestly, but very well done there. One question again on, the market leadership of Telkomsel. If I look at historically, what we have understood is that it's because of the population coverage they offer across Indonesia, ex-Java as well. And if Indosat and, Hutch together have to now, let's say, contend for the market leadership across Indonesia, this ex-Java coverage gap, how do you plan to even address that? Do you think that that's even important? And if so, how long you think before, you can actually get there?
I think, again, this is a very good question. You are right. A lot of people, has this perception that if you buy our number 1 player here, they work everywhere. Yes, they are dominant in ex-Java and they are very strong in Java. But what this merger has done, it has also created a strong number 2 in ex-Java. So we are starting from a point where we are in a position to give a good option to a lot of market, which earlier had no choice. It was a dominance. So this is where we are starting. Again, we want to make sure that we are very prudent. Wherever we go in ex-Java, we are able to monetize each and every sites. And also at the same time, we want to give contiguous coverage. But one more important data point, look at market like Nusra, Papua. These are all market with 5 million, 4 million population. And after combined network also, our market share is 3-4%. So these are all upside opportunity in front of us. We have a lot of good support from our shareholder. And as we said, this merger is very good for Indonesia. At least we'll be able to bring a strong, second option to customers in ex-Java. And over a period of 3 years, we'll be able to do it across.
Great. And my final question on Indonesia is on the synergy run rate. Again, running ahead of schedule there. So just want to understand what is driving this better than expected result there. And have you raised your formal targets on the synergy side yet or no?
Yes, I think during my presentation also I spoke about it. I was with Aziz September, first time when we said that, we will be able to deliver anywhere between 300 to 400 million in 3 to 5 years. We are very confident now that we will be 400, if not plus, and we'll be able to do it in maximum 4 years. So we will be hitting the higher end of our target. But the more important thing is our partner, Ericsson, Huawei, Nokia, they have invested on growth. And what has helped this is that, these kind of scale, it is not small, 62,000 physical sites, 46,000 physical sites need to be integrated on ground. So all of them have invested on growth, and collectively we are making sure that what we had planned for 24 months, we do it on 12 months. And then, we will be investing on growth so that, there's a win-win in long term for everyone.
So that's the per year number, right? 300 to 400 million.
Yes. After 4th year, this is recurring value.
Okay, great. A couple of questions on Iraq, if I may. What is the percentage of network which is up and running versus what it was during the peak of the unrest in Iraq? And if you could also talk about what is the current population coverage of Iraq now for Ooredoo on the 4G network?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I mean, looking at the growth of number of sites, we were before the unrest, we were in the range of 5,900. Right now, we are at the range of 7,300 sites plus. And if you look at the growth and the population coverage right now, number of sites were 100% 4G. And the population, as I mentioned during my presentation, is 97% of the population.
Great. Thank you very much. That has been very, very helpful. I will leave the floor for other questions. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mehdi. We're going to see you on Wednesday at the HSBC conference.
Sure. Thanks.
And we take one more question here from the Q&A session. Vikram would like to know, the recurring earnings in first half was 1.3 billion Qatari riyals. Can this be repeated in the second half of 2022? Of course, we only guide on revenue and EBITDA and CapEx. But if you have any.
As Abdullah mentioned before, we're expecting to finish the year at the higher end of our guidance. We don't revise our guidance during the year unless for really unexpected material event, which is not the case. So, soon we'll have the Q3 result. This will give you more clarity, and by the end of the year. But as of today, we are confident we'll reach the higher end of our guidance.
I don't see any further questions here. Before I hand over to Aziz for the final closing remarks, I would like to thank all the speakers for joining. And I would also like to thank all the support team, Sharjah and Huda, the video team. Great job there. Much appreciate all your help. Our next event is going to be the Q3 results at the end of October. And I strongly encourage you, when you log out of here, to fill out a few survey questions, feedback of this event. We really want to know what you think about it, how we can improve in the future. And we make sure that the whole management team will read your replies there. So thank you very much for joining, and I hand over to Aziz.
I'm going to repeat a bit what Andrea just said. Thank you for joining. Thank you for your attention. I hope this exercise was helpful. Please provide us your feedback on what you thought about it, what can be improved, where you would like us to dig a bit further deeper. We're here to answer your question to the extent that we can. So thank you for your attention, and please provide us your feedback. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and the theme of this event was Upgrade Your World, Upgrade Your Portfolio. So now it's over to you. Thank you very much for joining us today. This concludes the event. Thank you.
Thank you.